From the CyberHub bunker and studio, you're tuning in to the CyberHub Podcast. And now for your host and CISO, James Azar.
Good morning, security gang. Welcome to another episode of the CyberHub Podcast on the road again, but just hopefully one day this week. But we've got a packed show for all y'all this Tuesday morning, December 17th, 2024. Who would have thunk it? We're just 14 days away from the end of this year. We're a week away from really a holiday break. And there's a lot going on in the world of cyber. We're going to get into all of that on today's show with so much more. So let's go ahead and get started again. Being that I'm traveling, espresso's hard to come by. So coffee cup cheers to all of y'all. And let's get the show going with Clop Ransomware finally confirming to Bleeping Computer that they are the group behind data theft attacks utilizing the Zeroday exploit of Cleo. That Zeroday now has two different CVEs associated with it. One that we started off with, CVE 2024-50623, and a new one that's been added, CVE 2024-55956. Cleo is the developer of an FTP product called Cleo Harmony, VL Trader, and Lexicom, which companies use for secure file transfer. In October, Cleo disclosed a vulnerability. That's the first one. We talked about it on the show here multiple times, urging people to patch it up to get to version 5.8.0.24. However, Rapid7 is now confirming that CVE 2024-559 is not a patch bypass of that, as they exploit separate issues within the Cleo endpoint, meaning two separate issues, not one stacked on top of the other, meaning the patch didn't create the new CVE. There's two separate CVEs that they are exploiting within Cleo's endpoint. So it's worth highlighting that the CVE allows for both reading and writing vulnerability. That's CVE 50623. However, 559 only allows for writing arbitrary files, meaning it's a one-way executable communication. It was previously thought that Cleo itself was potentially by a new ransomware gang. However, Clop has come forward claiming responsibility for the attack, essentially letting everyone know we're the ones behind it, and we take responsibility. It's our project. And of course, they signed off their letter with love, and aren't we all grateful? The extortion gang has now announced that they are deleting data associated with past attacks from their leak server and will only work with new companies breached in the Cleo attacks. That's just telling you the sheer size of this. So if you remember when Move had happened early on last year, really, and into this year, we were going into 6-7 months where victims were coming forward. I expect something extremely similar here. These are copycat attacks, by the way. And what happens is when one group is extremely successful identifying an area like FTP as a place to go, you'll see others try the same because of the success and the sheer magnitude of it. And this is one of those. So Clop now claiming responsibility for it. These guys were launched in March of 2019. They began targeting enterprises with a variant of the crypto mixed ransomware. They obviously were behind the Acelion FTA secure transfer. So, I mean, this is up their wins. They also exploited the SolarWinds ServU FTP. I mean, this is really up their wheelhouse. So there's that for all y'all this morning to kind of be made aware of. Additionally, Texas Tech University's Health Sciences Center and its El Paso counterpart suffered a cyber attack that disrupted computer systems and applications and exposing the data of nearly 1.4 million patients to the Health Sciences Center. The organization is a public academic health institution. It's part of the Texas Tech University system, which trains healthcare professionals, conducts research, and provides patient care and services primarily to underserved communities. By the way, a lot of these spots are underserved community. So in September, they identified an issue that caused temporary disruption. They're now saying that we do know that attackers compromised data, including full names, dates of birth, physical addresses, social security numbers, driver license numbers, government ID number, financial account information, health insurance information, medical information, billing and claim data, and diagnosis and treatment information, pretty much the whole nine. The attack was claimed by the Interlock ransomware on October 27th, nearly a month after it. The attackers leaked 2.1 million files that total 2.6 terabytes. They essentially got the whole shebang bang there. So there's that as well. The state of Rhode Island is warning that their Rhode Island Bridges systems, also known as RI Bridges, managed by Deloitte, suffered a data breach that exposed residents' personal information to the Brain Cipher ransomware gang. RIP Bridge is a modern integrated eligibility system used in Rhode Island to manage and deliver public assistance programs, helping streamline the administration of various social services in the state. The incident, discovered on December 5th, followed an evaluation by Deloitte. It's considered likely that the attacker stole files containing PII and other data. On December 13th, the state was informed by its vendor that there was a major security threat to the RI Bridges system. In response, they've taken some these systems offline. They've started kind of working on it, but the benefits and programs that are impacted by this, and by the way, this could lead to not only fraud, which would be significant, but also potentially putting some of this assistance out of reach for some folks as they try to get the system back up online, like Medicaid or SNAP, CCAP, healthcare coverage purchased through Health Source Rhode Island. Rhode Island Works, long-term services and support, general public assistance programs, and at-home cost share. All of those were impacted. Deloitte, for its end, is confirming that this was a ransomware attack by Brain Cipher, and that they are working on recovery and mitigation at this time. The FBI are also warning about a hiatus RAT malware attacks that are now scanning and infecting vulnerable web cameras and DVRs exposed online. And this is significant for businesses that use web cameras and DVRs for security in your environment. Now, they're targeting specific DVRs, not all, but they're also targeting them in the US, Australia, Canada, New Zealand, and the UK. They're scanning web cameras and DVRs for vulnerabilities, including CVE 2017-7921, 2018 99905, 2022 5078, 2021 33044, 2021 36260. And weak vendor. This is a private industry notification. Apparently, they target Hikvision and Zygami devices with telnet access using Ingram as an open source camera vulnerability scanning tool, and Medusa as an open source authentication brute force tool. Their attacks target web cameras and DVRs with 23, 26, 554, 23, 23, 567, 5523, 8080, 9 or 530, and 56575 TCP ports that are exposed online. So, if you've ever run physical security for an organization, you realize stuff like this is fairly common. However, a lot of times these camera systems are interconnected to an office network, which sometimes they're not on their own segmented networks. There's been those cases. Yes, I know, not good practice, but very, very common in a lot of organizations. So all you want to make sure is, one, if you have those cameras and you have those ports, well, you shut down those ports. Number two, you even isolate the cameras, or you do a rip and replace. That's the best mitigation there. CISO yesterday issued warnings about Adobe Cold Fusion and Microsoft Windows being exploited in the wild, adding them to their Kev catalog. The Windows vulnerability is CVE 2024-35250. It's a high-severity kernel mode driver issue that could be exploited by an attacker to escalate privileges to system. Microsoft announced the patching back in June, but still attacks are happening there as well. And there's a proof of concept for it. The Cold Fusion was added. The Cold Fusion vulnerability was added to CISO's Kev's catalog yesterday as well. So that's CVE 2024-20767. This was patched in March of 2024. It's described as a critical and proper access control issues that allows arbitrary file system read. We're already seeing that there's attacks being associated to these, as they're low complexity attacks that don't require user interaction, specifically on the Windows bug. Windows didn't share a lot of details in their advisory, but now we're getting a whole lot more to it, especially given that it's been almost 6 months since the June patch Tuesday where this was patched, and still many people have not patched it. And again, this kind of goes to the general consensus around patching and how difficult it really is. This wasn't a very big thing to patch, but it probably fell between the wayside for some organizations. So there is in the wild exploitation of it. You want to make sure you get that addressed ASAP. If you haven't seen my Substack, go check out Substack. Go check out my Substack at jameshazard.substack.com. Sorry, I'm off my game a bit this morning. I don't have my espresso. JamesCesar.substack.com for all the latest. Please subscribe, share, follow. And while you're at it, wherever you're watching us right now, please make sure to give us a follow, comment, share, and let us know if you have anything else you want us to go in depth on. Specifically next week, I'll be doing a lot of in-depth work as I believe some of the stuff will really kind of die off here. So the Serbian government, for their end, are exploiting a Qualcomm Zeroday to unlock and infect Android devices with a new spyware named Novispy. They're using that to spy on activists, journalists, and protesters in the country. The Qualcomm flaw is linked to CVE 2024-43047. It's marked actively exploited Zeroday vulnerability by the Google's Project Zero back in October of this year and received a fix by Android in November. The spyware appears to have been deployed by Serbian authorities based on its communications was discovered by Amnesty International Security Lab on a journalist's phone after police returned it. In February, Slavica Milanov, an independent journalist from Serbia who covers local interest news stories, was brought into a police station after a seemingly routine traffic stop. After he was released, he noticed that his phone, which he had left at the police station reception at the request of the officers, was acting strangely. The data and Wi-Fi settings were turned off. He was aware that could be a sign of hacking. He then reached out to Amnesty International to request an analysis of the phone. And now we know that Novispy was deployed on his device. They apparently used Celebrite as an unlocking tool during physical custody of the device in order to load the spyware on the device itself. The security lab also uncovered forensic evidence leading to the identification of the Zeroday Android privilege escalation vulnerability used to escalate privileges on the device. So there's more spyware out there. Google finds different Qualcomm flaws, and obviously those are all listed here below that could lead to this. So something to keep in mind in that part of the world. CISA and the EPA have released a crucial fact sheet highlighting the cybersecurity risks posed by internet-exposed HMIs, which are human-machine interfaces in the water and wastewater systems. It was the fact sheet itself talks about some of the risks and how to mitigate some of those risks that exist in the water system. And the water systems are coming under more and more dangers. Obviously, we know Iran has been targeting the water system, but don't put it behind other threat actors to also do the same. So you want to make sure you get those addressed as well. And obviously, the links are in the show notes. You can see that there. CISA, for their end, released the first draft of the updated National Cyber Incident Response Plan, where they're waiting for the plan to be released by 2016. The 42-page National Cyber Incident Response Plan outlines what the government would do in response of a large-scale cyber attack. They're asking for public feedback on the plan. So we'll put those links in the show notes again, and you can see them on our Substack. Make sure you comment, review those. You might get some ideas to your own incident response plan, or you might have some feedback for CISA on theirs. Either way, do that. And Arctic Wolf on Monday announced that they're acquiring Cylance from BlackBerry and how the mighty have fallen. So the sale from BlackBerry selling our Cylance to Arctic Wolf for only $160 million in cash and roughly $5.5 million in Arctic Wolf common shares. BlackBerry will receive approximately $80 million in cash at closing and roughly $40 million 1 year later. The deal is expected to close in the fourth fiscal quarter of this year. Now, here's the thing. BlackBerry acquired Cylance. You remember back in 2018 for $1.4 billion. They literally got 10 cents to the dollar on the company. And 6 years later, they're selling it for 10 cents to the dollar. How the mighty have fallen in the EDR game. And it just shows you the exaggerated valuation of companies in a market where realistically, the competition was too stiff. So they overpaid. BlackBerry overpaid. They're may be able to recover 200, 300 million. Arctic Wolf's a great company. They absolutely have a good positioning in the market. They're obviously adding this for their XDR in order to increase their offerings in order to potentially, it might be easier to buy than build type of deal. They're also probably likely getting those customers as a portfolio where they believe they can increase the average revenue per customer by offering additional Arctic Wolf services. So all in all, a great buy for Arctic Wolf and a sad day for, what we used to consider to be a giant BlackBerry, right? In the sale of Cylance. So there's that. That's it for our show this morning. We'll be back tomorrow, 9 a.m. Eastern, live with all the latest and greatest. Until then, please make sure to subscribe, follow, share, comment. Let us know what's on your mind when it comes to cyber. I'll take the time. We'll go research it. We'll address it. Questions are always welcome. And by the way, most of our YouTube comments always get answered as long as they make sense. So you can also go there. That's it. Have a great rest of your day. And most importantly, y'all, stay cyber safe. Thank you.
We love feedback, so make sure to connect with us on social media and subscribe to our podcast on your favorite podcast listening platform.